Okay, here's video number 5 to accompany the worksheet for the Exponential Functions Essential Skill Review. And then I believe we'll be done with the videos for this. Make sure that you're working on the You Try section and following along with each of the videos. All right, so following my steps here, I did start with a point or with a problem where I have the y-intercept given to me, which is really kind of nice. Now, I'm not going to say, hey, this is the y-intercept right here, but I do want you to recognize that if it's there, it should make your life a little bit easier. So if I take a look at the 2 points here and here, and I inspect both of them, I see right now that one of them is the y-intercept. I know this because it's 0, comma. If you have a point that is 0, comma, you're being told what the starting value is. So I'm basically being told that A is 5, which is really nice. Now, if I look at the other point here, I have just an x and a y. Nothing too special here, but I am going to use them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the general equation for this. So y equals ab to the x. And I'm going to plug everybody in where they go. So for my x and y, so my y is going to be 640. My x is going to be 7. Bring down my equal sign. And then I'm going to plug everybody else in where they go. Now the b, I don't know what the b is, so I'm going to leave that there. But I do know what a is. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in front. That's 5. Okay, now I have an equation with everybody plugged in that I know. You notice that there's only one thing you don't know, which is b. So at this point, let's solve for b. So I'm going to divide both sides by 5. My 5s are going to cancel. I do 640 divided by 5 in my calculator is going to give me 128, which is equal to b to the 7th power. Now, on a previous video, which hopefully you've watched already, I talked about how we can get rid of these powers. So we're going to do the root with the 7 in it. So we want to make sure that it's the same number in the exponent and the same number inside the root. So then those guys are going to cancel, which is kind of nice, and that's b. And then if we type this into our calculator, we're going to get b equals 2. It's kind of nice. So now I can go ahead and write the equation because I know what a is, which was already given to me at the very beginning. So y is equal to, so my a was 5. My b, which I calculated, is 2 to the x. So you can write it that way, or you can write it using the dot. It's up to you. Okay, let's move on to the next question. All right, same idea. If I take a look at these, and I look at my 2 points, unfortunately, I don't think anybody is the y-intercept. So it looks like I'm going to have to do a little bit of work here. So I'm going to proceed with this problem a tiny bit differently. Not a huge amount, just a little bit. So I'm going to take this x, y, and I'm going to plug it into y equals ab to the x. Okay, so there's my 12. I don't know what a is, I don't know what b is, but I do know what x is. All right, I'm going to proceed and do the same thing with the other one. So I get x and y here. Y equals ab to the x. Plug everybody in where they go. All right, so now what I've done is I've created a system of equations. So I would really like to, if I notice everything that's happening here is multiplication. So I think if I divide, I can get somebody to cancel, which would really be nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at the exponents, and whichever exponent on b is bigger is going to tell me which equation I'm going to put on top of the other. So in this case, the exponent of 2, so the blue highlighted one, is definitely bigger than the exponent of -3. So with that said, I'm going to rewrite these two, but I'm going to put the blue equation on top. and I am going to turn it into a division problem. So blue equation on top, yellow equation right underneath it, and I am going to divide these guys. When I do that, the a's are going to cancel, so it's a divided by a. Now, if I divide the rest of them, I got 0.375 divided by 12, and I'm going to write out the entire decimal that's given to me. And then here, if the b's match, which they do, we're going to subtract the exponents. But remember, it's top exponent minus bottom exponent. So I'm going to do 2 minus negative 3, and that is going to be 5. Okay, now from here, let's get rid of that 5 exponent. So those guys are going to cancel. And then I am going to type this into my calculator and see what I get. Oh, that's not too bad. They give me 0.5. All right, so I have B. Now that you have B, go back to the original equations, whichever one you like better. I know people aren't big fans of negative exponents, and they're not necessarily big fans of decimals, but if I had to guess, I think people would pick the blue equation. So if I do 0.375 is equal to AB squared, 0.375, I don't know what A is, that's what I'm trying to find. So 0.5 squared, okay, so let's go ahead and solve this. So if I do 0.5 squared in my calculator, that's going to give me 0.25 and then times A. Let's divide by 0.25. So do 0.375 divided by 0.25 in the calculator, and it looks like A is going to be equal to 1.5. Okay, now we've got A and B. Now we can write the equation. So Y is equal to A times B to the X. I probably wouldn't write this one using the multiplication dot just because I've got decimal points flying around here and it might be a little confusing. So there's my equation for this one. Okay, I believe we've got one more example. Now, this is a context type problem, so we still want to be able to identify things in it. So it's kind of like the growth and decay problems we did earlier with like investing or buying a car. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can find what was in the beginning. Okay, in 2013, when he started, he has 2 typewriters. Okay. Now, you can choose to write your point however you would like. You could do 2013, comma, 2, or you can say, in the beginning, when he started collecting typewriters, he had 2. Now, I don't want to use big, huge numbers, so I'm actually going to use the in the beginning part. So to do this, I would say, in the beginning, Tom has 2 typewriters. Okay. Now, if I continue on, and it says, today, he has 4,374. Okay, today. All right, well, if 0 is represented by 2013, and today is 2020, then I would say it has been 7 years, and he now has that many typewriters. Now that I have my 2 points, I'm going to go ahead and inspect them and see if either of these is a y-intercept. And because of how I chose to write it, it is. So there is A. Now the other point, the best I can do with them is that is an X and a Y. Okay, so I'm going to plug everybody into the equation and then see if I can figure out what B is. So I get Y is equal to AB to the X. And I think I'm going to turn it back into T of N's at the end. So if it's easier for you to manipulate something in X's and Y's and then at the end change it, that's fine. If not, you can start now and do this as N and T of N. So this is 43 374 is 2b to the 7th. Okay, let's go ahead and see what we get. So we get b to the 7th is equal to, okay, 4374 divided by 2 is 2187. I need to get rid of the 7 power, so I'm going to do the 7 root. So those guys cancel. Let me type this into my calculator. Oh, that's nice. Looks like I get 3. Okay, I have A and B. I should be able to write my equation. And since this is typewriters, it doesn't really make any sense to use X and Y. Like I said, you can kind of manipulate while you're going, but then change it at the end. So I would do T of n is equal to A times B to the nth power, or since there's no decimals here, you could do 2 times 3 to the nth. And then if going through and changing the x's and y's is confusing to you, you can actually just identify these guys originally as n and t of n. But I know that that's a little confusing to some people too. So it is just the ease of what makes the most sense to you going through the process. So if you want to, though, you can change those guys. So we've got our t of n and our n. Okay, and that finishes the videos. Make sure that you work on the you try section.